The first time man held the ray gun was in Call of Duty World at War, and for that reason alone, it deserves the respect of all of those who have ever played a game of Call of Duty. But World at War was more than just the debut of the ray gun, more than just the debut of the zombies mode that we hold so near and dear. See, it was the next game to come out after the wildly successful Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, which meant that World at War had big, if not the biggest, shoes to fill. So how did it fare? Well, if you go by sales alone, GamerRant.com ranked it the 10th best-selling Call of Duty at just over 15 million copies, which is just behind COD 4, which sold a little over 17 million copies. Alright, now those are the sales numbers, but was the game actually good? I'm gonna tell you right now, soldier, I was on the front lines of COD 4 and World at War. I was the target demographic at the time, disregarding the suggested age you play the game at. It was November 11, 2008 when the game released, which would put me at the age of 13 when I first played the game. No longer a child, not yet a man, but I was a goddamn gamer, and me and all my friends loved World at War. Unfortunately, I don't have any footage from way back then. If I did, I think I'd die of cringe, so you're just gonna have to take my word for it. But believe me, World at War was a fantastic game. One of the notable things I remember about it to this day were the destructible limbs, for lack of a better term. Anytime you stepped on a bouncing Betty or got blown up in any kind of way, you would actually lose your limbs, and that was pretty cool for the time. I mean, look at this. Boom, lost an arm. Boom, lost a leg. Boom, lost both legs. That's pretty great. Now, I'm not just speaking these words to you right now based off of my memory of the game alone. No, remember what I said before? I'm a goddamn gamer. I went backwards in time for this video. I went to my mom's house to get my Xbox 360 out of the closet, dug through some old boxes to get my copy of World at War out, and got right down to business. The first thing I did when I turned on my old 360 was look at my friends list, and then I got really sad. Seeing your best friends from middle school that you haven't spoken to since middle school appearing as offline on the friends list is a special kind of millennial pain that I'm sure many of you are also familiar with. After wiping the tears from my eyes, I popped in the game and was taken aback after hearing the main menu theme. Just hearing that little audio clip and seeing that image triggered some sort of Winter Soldier event in me. It was like I was 13 again, ready to sweat out the whole campaign in one day, sitting in one of these things and drinking some Kool-Aid brand pink lemonade. Anyway, I figured we ought to start out with a little zombie mode warm-up right back where it all began in Nacht der Untoten. It was immediately clear to me that although the game had aged physically in the real world, the gameplay itself was timeless. The guns felt good, the audio was crispy, the allure and thrill of the zombies game mode was as ever present as it always was. Even all the way back at the first iteration of zombies, I think the devs nailed it. I could easily see myself getting a couple of friends together right now for a night of zombie mode action. It would be hours upon hours of entertainment, even all these years later. Hell, I was alone and I still had fun surviving a couple of waves. After my bout with the zombies, I turned off the 360 for the night, knowing in 3 days time I'd dive back in to start the campaign, all while streaming it at twitch.tv/finestxi. So the day had come. I set the game to normal difficulty as I typically do for story playthroughs, and I dropped into the first mission, which is called Semper Fi. It's hard to forget the opening to this great game. I don't think I could if I tried. Private Pyle met his end, reinforcements arrived, and we were off to the races. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and narrate every little moment of this whole story playthrough. That would be boring. Instead, I'll touch on the important bits, like this game's remarkable way of making you feel like you're in an actual goddamn war. The sights, the sounds, the chaos, the action. The way this game plays is like going whitewater rafting, in a good way. This is hands down one of the coolest war game experiences out there. I love Semper Fi as an introduction level to the game. I think it sets the perfect tone for the rest of the story to come. As far as setting the tone goes, World at War never stops getting that part right. With the game's next mission, Little Resistance, you storm the beaches of Peleliu and are met with a lot of resistance. Seeing Private Koopman get taken out by an enemy sniper really puts a sense of fear and urgency in the player. And now fast forward to the game's fourth mission, and you're first as a soldier of the Russian Red Army. The scene is immediately set when you find yourself playing dead amongst your entire platoon, who most of are actually dead due to an attack from the German Wehrmacht. Except it's not only you who survived. Sergeant Reznov is alive and mostly well. Your mission here is to assassinate General Heinrich Amsel. The only problem is Reznov's hand is wounded, so he leaves the heavy lifting to you. After using the droning of the bombers flying overhead to drown out the sound of your gunshots and take down the squad in front of you, you and Reznov move from building to building, providing sniper support to your fellow soldiers. Eventually, you see him in the distance, the general you're trying to assassinate. As he's moving from cover to cover, you take your shot, and when you finally hit him, the game goes goes slow-mo in the perfect way as you see him go down. Now, this game may not be a jack of all trades. It doesn't have open world, skill trees, multiple storylines, side quests, none of that kind of stuff. In fact, the game is pretty one-dimensional. It's a game about World War II, but what little it does so damn well. In the 4 hours it took me to beat the campaign, yeah, you heard me right, the game is shockingly short, I felt like I got to experience it all. Airstrikes, flamethrowers, tank battles, fighting in the skies, fighting on the seas, a wide variety of battle zones, and no shortage of combat. I really wouldn't want the campaign to be any longer. If it was, it would just be more of the same. It's a great action-packed 4 hours that gives you just enough story and background to care, and let's leave it at that. Now, as much as I enjoyed the game, there are a couple of things worth noting that I didn't really like. The first thing that bugs me about World at War isn't a problem specific to World at War, but it's a COD problem in general. When you aren't aiming and you shoot your gun, your bullets come flying out of the barrel at all different directions. Hip firing is comically inaccurate, but to my knowledge, pretty much every COD is like this. I didn't really mind this much back in the day when I was younger, but after recently playing games like Escape from Tarkov, where even when you're not aiming, your bullets are shooting exactly where your gun is looking, it just kind of bugs me to go back to a game where it has that kind of hip fire mechanic. It's not a huge deal, but it is kind of silly standing in front of an enemy and not being able to hit him because you're hip firing. The other thing I really dislike is the massive amount of camera shake you get whenever you're firing a big gun. They do this so the player understands that what you're operating has a lot of power to it, but man, it gets to be too much sometimes. As I was shooting some of these guns, I felt like my brain was also rattling around. It can be so excessive that half the time you can't really tell what you're shooting at because the camera is shaking so hard. And there are a lot of times throughout the game where this happens. It wasn't game breaking for me or anything, but it was just something that I didn't like, so I thought I'd point that out. Now, I want to talk about World at War's final mission, Downfall, where you play as Dmitry Petrenko of the Red Army, where you fight your way into the Reichstag, which is located in Berlin, right in the heart of Nazi Germany. The concrete jungle that is Berlin becomes the ultimate battleground where you have to fight your way through scores of German soldiers to make your way into the Reichstag. Once inside, you stumble across what I think is, for lack of a better term, the coolest scene in the entire game. The battle in the Parliament room is my favorite for many reasons. As you enter the room, you see lines of Russian soldiers firing further into the room, trying to push back the Germans. Reznov orders you to go upstairs and provide covering fire. Once you're on the second floor, that's when you really get a feel for the situation. The walls are lined with Nazi flags, fires are breaking out everywhere, there's a lot more soldiers than you realize, and all hell is breaking loose. The game also has this sick metal track that plays over some really eerie choir singing. Check it out. In fact, the game's actually full of epic soundtracks like this one. They did a really good job with the music in World at War. I know it's just a video game, but this is the room that got me thinking about all the hells that everyone who fought in this war must have went through. After a lengthy battle here, the last thing you do is grab the Panzerschreck bazooka and destroy the Reichsadler, the huge eagle symbol that's on the front wall of the room, destroying the most prominent symbol of the Third Reich, as well as the remaining SS underneath. Chef's kiss on that one. The last part of the level has you go outside to take down the Nazi flag and raise the Russian one. You grab the flag and march toward the flagpole, only to be shot down by a lone German soldier. Down but not out, Reznov shows up to display one of the most Russianly patriotic moments I've ever witnessed in my life. While Reznov is tearing this soldier to pieces with a machete, the national anthem of the Soviet Union is playing in the background. I'm American, but I still think that was f***ing cool. Reznov cuts the Nazi flag down, and you bring up yours to take its place. The soldiers in the background cheer in unison, and the music comes to a climax. Reznov says his lines, and then the screen goes black. The game ends with a video containing President Harry Truman's voice, mentioning the German surrender in Europe, the bombing of Hiroshima, as well as General MacArthur's speech following the Japanese surrender. And finally, Treyarch's summary of the war, which states, 60 million lives were lost as a result of World War II. It was the most destructive conflict in human history. After that, the credits start to roll, but just before they do, the game mentions that it's dedicated to the veterans of World War II who sacrificed their lives for the preservation of liberty. As the credits were rolling, I remembered exactly how I used to play Call of Duty games back in the day. I'd get home from school, I'd put the game in as fast as I could, and I'd play through the entire campaign in one sitting. As soon as I was finished with that, I'd head straight to the online multiplayer. Back then, I loved playing the campaign before I went online. I felt like it gave me the best understanding of the game, and it was just my own little ritual for every COD. Sadly, sadly, as the Call of Duty franchise progressed, I stopped playing the campaigns and then eventually stopped playing the CODs altogether. I am going to be picking up the 2022 Modern Warfare 2 COD though, so hopefully I can relive the glory days. Are you guys still playing Call of Duty to this day, or did you also stop a long time ago? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Subscribe if you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Also, before we go, a shout out to the patrons who help support this channel, and a special shout out to the VIPs, nickRSA, doktorjohaan, calabag, Hugh6707, jokeswithdad, and defnotdallas. If you guys want to sign up to become a patron, link for that is down below. Peace.